like the school district, though, that was so bold.
I know.
To say, we're going to start beating our kids. Welcome to Relevant Rants. It's Friday, guys, and it's our day to just rant about whatever topics we feel like. For those out there that are listening that are offended by anything we may say, or if we may say something that hurts your feelings, remember, I'm put up to most of the things I say. Please reach out to these guys.
We're not offensive.
Go after Lawson or Touchstone on this thing because, guys, you know me. I'm here to love everybody.
I play that middle ground too, Scott.
This world is very tough. There's no hurt feelings. There's no offended people anywhere. Just ask the Ben Shapiro situation.
I know. Isn't that crazy? I don't know if you've been keeping up on this. My daughter's the talent manager for the Daily Wire, Tessa Touchstone Jimenez. And Ben showed up at a podcasters convention. I mean, he's at top of the food chain for that, and they had a booth. Mm-hmm. And so
the Daily Wire had a booth there?
He went to see his booth.
Yeah.
And what happened?
But basically, I guess his presence caused people to be in trauma. And the promoter, basically, I'll just read it. The organizer said he's sorry and ashamed and embarrassed. What happened? Did too many white people show up? Did they not play enough songs from female artists? No. It's even worse. Ben Shapiro just appeared at a booth briefly and Thursday night. And he said, what did he say? What did he do? Nothing. His mere presence caused harm, says PM's Twitter handle.
Yeah, I think you and I can speak to it. Many times when you walk into this building here, Tom, we're traumatized. We know something is going on.
Scott, you're the lawyer. I mean, what is there any case here?
No, I would think not. There's just so many details left out. Was it a
Did
was
he
it a
actually do anything
convention
wrong?
No.
So he did nothing wrong.
No.
Is the point.
There again.
And what does that say about our culture that we can't even be in the same room as someone?
Not to be devil's, was the convention for, let's say,
podcasters?
But was it for a different ideology of podcasters?
They gave him a booth.
Yeah, he had a booth there.
It was all podcasting in general.
Yeah.
That just wow, it just seems thin-skinned, doesn't it? A little thin-skinned.
I love that comment, thin skin. So hopefully, if you guys see us out someplace, and I would say, just come up and talk to us, because the things that I say, and this is what I think. I mean, I love the fact that we've got, I think we're up to 4 shows now.
Yes.
With Lunch Break, we've got Ministry Matters, we've got Muscles Matter, we've got the Relevant Rants, Mike Harvey Show. If we say something, come out and say it to us, because, I mean, if we have to apologize for something we really did or said,
right,
then we would do that.
So coming from the construction background, we used to have this thing we'd give to new apprentices or new helpers or whatever have you, and it was a hurt feelings report. Mm-hmm. And if someone had their feelings hurt, they'd be given this piece of paper, and it had a series of very, very inappropriate questions and answers. Like, if your feelings are hurt, basically screw off,
okay,
go get a new job. Right? And it's like, what happened to those people that had a little bit thicker skin? We're guys, it's a podcast. Yeah. Are you surprised even a little bit? Just shut up and move on with your life.
He just showed up.
That's my point. Move on with your life.
And if you've ever seen Ben, he's not a menacing figure.
No, but that tells
like
you what
Tyson.
That tells you what he must. That speaks to him. And what he does. For those of him that like him, would be very honored to have it. Yep. And anybody that is brought up that high is going to be brought down that low for the people that dislike him. And you got to just figure it out.
Hey, I listen to CNN News. I do. The other day I was at the gym and CNN was on, and I'm telling you, I learned a lot from what they said.
Hey, I got to be honest about something. So I'm in the bookstore, and I don't go to the bookstore often. We went to take my daughters yesterday. This is yesterday. And I'm getting ready to check out, and there's magazines, and there's a few magazines. I don't know if it's 3 or 4, but there's a few negative magazines toward former President Donald Trump. And I'm like, when do they just let this go? When do they just stop? So I told my wife, Kayla, I said, hold on a second. I went back and I turned every one of the magazines backwards just because I'm like, why? They're just feeding into this scared mentality. Oh my gosh, we got to hate anyone of opposition. We've got to, we've got to cry and be big babies about every little thing. It's just chill.
But I think
chill.
I think we're in such a culture though where everything is either this or it's that. We hear something to this far side or something to this far side, And the reality is it can depress you, it can bum you out, because most of us are kind of in here, you know, and I don't think we're extreme to the right or left many times, and that's all we hear, whether it's Fox News or CNN or whatever the news station. I think it's tough. Listen, before we get going, we got a few topics we want to discuss, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I know I was going to talk about something that's kind of showy and goofy, which is the Manti Te'o. I don't know if anyone. I got to explain this to Kyle because he's younger, and I'm a football fan. But I think it was back in 2009. There was this young football player for Notre Dame that ended up turning the world upside down. A phenomenal football player, plays a few years. His senior year, he ends up dedicating the season to his grandmother and his girlfriend, who die on the same day.
Whoa.
They died like in September of the football season. He dedicates the season to her, and he goes off to have one of the most amazing defensive seasons of all time. He ends up getting put on as into the Heisman ballot and finished number 2 in the Heisman ballot. And this guy was
as a defensive player.
as he was the only true defensive player to ever finish number 2. He became college football's he was the charming boy of the season. Right after the bowl game, the national championship they played that year, the girlfriend that he had been putting up this whole season, they found out he was catfished.
Oh,
He had never met this girl. And now they have, so he's catfished. I think it was Deadspin does this background investigation on it. And they find, oh my gosh, this guy who's been putting up all of this story, I'm honoring to him, he's been catfished. She doesn't even exist. She's a hoax. So then they come out saying, this is a young kid. He's still 21 years old. Was he in on it? Is he doing this because he's gay and this was a cover-up for his girlfriend? All of these things are coming off on this poor kid. So Netflix did this 2-episode special on the event because now I think it happened in 2012. So it's been 10 years removed. And I'm telling you, my kid said, Dad, you got to watch it. It's kind of cool. And I'm like you. I'm like, nah, do I really want to watch something? He ended up going to the pros, played 7 years in the pros, nothing big in his career. It was the most interesting documentary I've seen. It's a 2-part series, and they interview both him and the girl that catfished him.
Oh wow! So
did they get both
Neve?
of them.
Did they get Neve on?
You know what? Her name. She was a guy. She transgendered to a female. So now she goes by the name of Lene, some Hawaiian name, Lene Canali, something like that. And this was the same name she used.
Have you heard of the show Catfish?
Oh, no. At the time, this is what's interesting. At the time this was going on, catfish wasn't really part of our vernacular.
Not even a term.
Years ago.
And then this hits.
2012.
As this hits, catfish becomes part of our everyday statements. And yet, it is the most, it has more layers of wickedness, what this girl did. The way she strung him along. She would use her man voice to say, I'm the brother. She would use her girl voice to say, I'm the cousin, or I'm this. It has so many layers of wickedness. And even after she came, so at the end of the season when she says, I'm dead, or the brother calls out and says, I died, this guy's just laid back and he dedicates the season, he moves forward. It is phenomenal. And you don't have to be a football fan.
It sounds good.
I'm
You
watching
don't have
it.
to be
I'm
anything.
watching
It is
it.
an absolute wonderful show. And Tommy, I think you're even taking us back to the school district, right?
You know, school is in season, right?
Yes.
School's in season. My wife's a superintendent, so I hear all this stuff going on. So I'm really kind of. You ever been there where you think topics just keep coming to you now, and I don't know if they're catfishing me or what,
Right.
but I mean, you know how Siri, we all get that, right? And you know, so funny. There was a lot of movies when I was young when the dinosaurs roamed the earth. They would talk about Big Brother. Siri's Big Brother. She's in our house, right? Last night I wanted some worship music on. I said, Siri, play, Hillsong Worship, and did. I'm like, well, that didn't just go to Siri. I mean, it went to my file or something.
Right.
I'm just saying this out there. But so I'm getting a lot of school articles. It was very interesting to me, and our director, Alex, will probably put up these sites. But it's about a guy and a gal who realized that they didn't believe in what the public school was doing, but they also realized that private schools had their problems too. So they were homeschooling, which I can tell you has its problems too.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's one of those things. I just want to tell you, if you're out there, nothing's perfect. If you're looking for a perfect world, you're never going to find it. And that's why I think so much we just got to talk. We just got to get along. And as they saw that was something was happening, then I got another article that says a red wave happened in Florida because a lot of conservative, and I think they'd be GOP or Republicans, have now ran for a school board and won. So I tell people, if you want to change something, do that.
Right.
You know, we have a system that allows you to do that. If you don't like what's going on, you run for the school board and you give your opinion.
Does it say what kind of issues that they're having with the private school sector?
Yeah,
They're just saying that things had filtered over there too.
So my daughters are in private school, and I'll tell you what, we have encountered a few things that have rubbed us wrong, and ultimately I'm like, okay, but are they Christ-centered? Do they have my moral compass? You're not going to find something that perfectly aligns with every aspect of your being.
Agreed.
And so you just eat the meat, spit out the bone.
Well,
you know?
I was a principal at a private high school for 10 years. And then I went on to start an elementary school at our church. And my wife became the principal for 12, 15 years. So we knew it. People would come in and I would tell people right off the bat, if you're expecting us to teach your kids everything, then you're wrong, because it should be coming from home.
Right.
I mean, and the public school system is even saying that. My wife says, hey, listen, if you're teaching your children manners and respect, it happens a lot better in school through all the subjects if they come to us with that instilled in them, because having kids just for a few hours a day doesn't change things. And I used to tell parents that. And I would tell them, I'd open up the window in my office and I'd say, hey, see those kids out there? No one's got a halo on their head.
But you know what's interesting? We opened up this show talking about Ben Shapiro. Talking to a certain extent that the end of the whole point of that was how thin-skinned we are. And if you think about it, when kids are being raised, whether it's private school, public school, homeschool, if they hear parents in the house complaining, we're pulling you out of this district and putting you in this one, or we're not happy with either one, we're going to do it ourselves. We're really creating the same type of thin-skinned people. Like, every time something's wrong, we're moving on to the easy side. And it's just, as you said, Kyle, there's going to be issues and problems in every facet of our life every day. You have to make a determination of what you're standing on, what the bedrock is, your compass, and just stand to that, or we're going to create this whole society, or maybe we have already created a whole
I
society.
could think of some stories that probably get me in trouble, but I'm not going to say
Then I had another feed come through about a school in Missouri, southwestern Missouri, that's going to bring back spanking kids in school.
It is about time.
Well, I would say,
I'm not going to lie. If a teacher
I would
put
say
his hands
stay
on,
away from that.
if a teacher put their hands on my kid, I'd put my hands on that teacher.
But that goes back
Just
to the home
throw-
too, doesn't
yeah.
it? We all believe you spare the rod, spoil the child.
Yeah.
We all have brought up under Scripture. So if that isn't happening at the house, school's not going to fix that. You're going to have a lot more issues on that, you know.
I like the school district, though, that was so bold.
I know.
To say, we're going to start beating our kids.
You know, Scott, you got 3 boys.
They send a waiver home.
Yeah, you have 3 tough boys.
Yeah.
You know, and I got girls. Kyle's got girls.
Yeah.
It's like, that's maybe a little different.
Oh, it was so much easy beating the boys. I just beat them. That's great. Kyle, what do you have for us today, man?
You know, okay, look,
I've
I've
talked
been
more
fighting
today
this.
than I should have. Go ahead.
Yeah,
No,
I'll be
we're moving on
quick.
slow.
I'll be quick. But here's the thing. This is just something that if you can't get behind this, then we'll just never agree on this. I don't believe in free handouts. I'm not a fan of it. I haven't been. I've had to work for everything I've had. Yeah, I've had to work for everything I've had. There's not a coincidence that almost 80% of millionaires in this world came from nothing. It's because hard work and determination, all of that was built by having to go and figure it out. And so we get to the forgiveness of college student loan debt, and I'm like,
Is that really going through, or is it?
it's legit. As far as I know, every article I've seen, it's legit.
No,
They're working out details as to because they're even offering now. So if you've made a payment since March of
How's it going to
2020,
be credited?
they'll credit you back. And so they're saying there's a flaw where some people can have their debt removed, 10,000 or 20,000, wherever you qualify, and then also get a refund from payments. So they're saying people can make money on this. So they're trying
Well, that's
to.
the American way, I think.
So they're trying to work out kinks. But I didn't go to school.
Scott.
No,
I didn't go to school.
Right.
And that's not because I didn't want to. Part of me probably would have, but I went to work and I figured it out. And I'll tell you what, almost every one of my friends that I was jealous of in high school, they had the nicer trucks from mom and dad. They had the nicer this from mom and dad. They had all these things. Their parents sent them off to school and gave them party money during the week. And every one of those kids that graduated school or college and finished up college were just doing the same thing I was doing, except for they were now 6, 7, 8 years behind me.
Right.
And I was now in a position where I'm buying a house. I'm starting a family. I'm doing these things because I worked for it. People go and get their gen ed. I got an idea. Go get a job. That's your gen ed. Go ask for someone to mentor you. I went to prominent business owners in our city and I said, hey, would you mind if I took 30 minutes of your time and just asked you some questions? Would you mentor me in a couple of areas of life? I'm starting a business. I'm doing this. I'm going through this with my kids. And people, believe it or not, people are helpful. They want to help, and they would. And I'll tell you what, I probably learned more in those conversations than half of these people my age that went to school.
Well, it's so funny. I was on a podcast this week, and it was called Health and Fitness Redefined. And they wanted to know my story. And they're like, wow, how'd you get into bodybuilding and make money? I go, I fell into it. So as I fell into it, I mean, I had to work hard at it.
Yeah.
But then it was funny because I paid to put myself through, got a BS in computer science. So it was funny because, I fell into a career that I made money at that paid for my
education.
And so I believe in the fact that hard work ethics are required.
And I think this is important to note because I don't want to sound like I'm just some jerk. I think this is important. Create an appropriate solution to the appropriate problem. The problem is, okay, schools are charging too much. Okay, I can get behind that.
I would agree.
But that doesn't mean the solution is to forgive debt. It means go and address the schools charging too much. Go address the children that think they have to go to school to get a gen ed when they end up wanting to do nails. Just go do nails.
Well, let me, and I'll take what both of you said. I think the way to look at this
do they have a degree for that, Scott? I mean,
I'm sure there's some type of degree for something.
It's like no, it's just it was just something unrelated to gen ed. I mean, it could have been anything.
Well, listen, I don't think that this isn't an anti-education argument. Listen,
this is an anti-giving out free money argument on my end.
What I know, but the point is there are things that people go to college for, that things that you learn socially, culturally, everything else
you got a lot
that you ain't going to put a price on. You're not going to put a guy with a businessman to learn. The bigger important issue here is kind of what you were saying at the end. There is such inherent unfairness with the way this is done. There is no way. We have families in this country that already felt like they have carried the bulk of taxes for years and years and years. Now we have families that their kids may be 30, 35, 40. They're saying, oh, by the way, all the money you guys paid back doesn't mean anything. And now we're trying to, as you just alluded to, how are we going to build some type of consequential mathematical equation where, okay, you get to pay it back, and if you did this or this, oh, you're a trade school, you don't count. It only is for a federal grant or the federal Pell Grant. You get even more, $10,000 for a write-off. There is so much inherent unfairness in this.
Well, even
I don't
the
think
people
you're ever
with
going to
debt
build.
are unhappy because they're like, the NAA, they just came out with something saying, this, it didn't even put a dent into the debt. This was pointless. It did nothing. More. You didn't make anybody happy with
Kyle,
this.
I agree.
You gave me debt, and I didn't want debt.
Kyle was going to say that. Do you know that you have student loans now?
I was just going to say.
And I've got student
Up
loans.
to $2,000 a family, supposedly,
my wife,
right?
My wife went and sorry, I'll finish with this. But my wife went to Bakersfield College, and I went to Bakersfield College to go and hit on her. I did not go to school. I just went to go mosey through the classroom.
We now know, Kayla.
For many years, I would joke around and tell my kids.
This is the reason to keep guys like this out of school, right here.
I would tell my kids, your dad's been to college. Yeah. I wouldn't tell.
To meet mom.
To meet mom. And so anyways, I'd tell my kids, now I'm going to tell them, I used to have student loan debt. Well, actually, I'm going to have it for a long time. But I'm going to tell them, I have accumulated student loan debt. It was just unwilling.
Unwilling, unintentional.
Yeah. And I have no education from it.
I just think, you know what? I always say, not to get political, but
the Bible says to find a good wife is a good thing.
And do whatever it takes, even if it means going to college. You don't go
listen, guys. What month we're almost in September. We have a president that has really poor results. We have midterms coming up, and all of a sudden we're giving a $300 billion out back into
loans. He's buying votes.
It sounds like it has a little political overtone. But listen, that's where I always get off track. Guys, relevant rants.
Yes.
Wonderful day today, Tom.
And if you're thinking about college, unthink it. Unless you pay cash.
Or de-think it. Okay.
If you go for the right reasons, because Scott, you got a law degree.
Yes,
I'm totally being honoring. I'm clearly being
I know that
dramatic.
But I'm just saying, there is a right way to do it.
There is a right and a wrong way to do it.
I don't think they should go to do nails.
Hey, I have a business loan. I have a business loan. Would you guys mind helping me pay some of that off?
I'll just forgive it. I'll just tell you right now, it's
Done.
forgiven.
Put in
Don't
a
worry
phone
about
call.
it.
Put in a phone call to old Joe.
All right, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. Signing off for us, Tom.
Yeah. Hey, just always remember this. that if you like what we're doing, 511 Media Group, where we stand for faith, freedom, and what's our
Family.
third? Family.
Family,
There you go.
guys.
And it doesn't have to be in Christianity, because we all happen to share the same faith, but we also want to talk about the faith, the family, and the freedom in our country.
Right.
I mean, you don't have to believe like we do, but we do live in a really amazing country.
Amen.
And I think our founding fathers did an amazing job putting together the framework, Constitution, Bill of Rights.
Sure.
And I think that as believers, we're supposed to pray for the government, and I do every day, but we can make a difference by choosing what we feel is the right things
That's right.
to vote for. Go out and vote.
There you go, guys. Take care.
Adios.